Lace up your skates, fasten your chin strap, hit the ice, drop the puck. The Johnstown Tomahawks present Hawkey Central. Now here's your host, Troy Robert.
Welcome to another episode of Hawkey Central. I am your host, Troy Robert, joined, of course, by the marvelous Coach Letizia of the Johnstown Tomahawks. Coach, I changed up your intro today because I'm moving it to the beginning of the show. But how are you doing today?
Doing all right. A little rainy in Johnstown today. It was a beautiful weekend to go along with 2 wins, and now it's the rain's back. So looking to deal with that.
Yeah, I was telling you before the show that I'm battling one of these great springtime sinus colds, and it's really terrible. It's one of those where you start talking and then it feels like your whole face is going to explode. And you were telling me that some of the guys are battling stuff, and hopefully they can recover because you got a 3-game series coming up against Northeast.
Yeah, we've battled just about everything under the sun this year between whatever the sicknesses might be and flu and different types of things. So, yeah, it's tough because the kids are always around each other, you know, in the locker room, on the bench, in the buses. They live with each other at home with their billet families. So it's tough to escape. You do everything you possibly can to try to keep things clean and germ-free, but at the end of the day, it's pretty hard. So just got to hopefully don't get too bad, and we try to control as much as we can, and then hopefully the kids can play through some of it. And if they can't, then we just got to wait till they get healthy. So.
Yeah, locker rooms and hospitals, worst place to go to get sick, I'll tell you that. But, Coach, you had a good weekend. Got 2 wins over a good team, offensively, putting a lot of pucks in the net. But the 2 wins over the weekend, pretty much, and again, it's not official, but you're 1 point now away from clinching home ice for the first round, which is very important, and with 5 games to go or a New Jersey loss. So we pretty much can pencil in home ice advantage for the first round. How does that make you feel as a coach to be able to have at least the first round home ice?
Yeah, obviously it's got to get finalized here over the next couple of weeks. But you know, with the weekend where it was going into it in the standings with the 5-point lead on New Jersey, we knew statistically it was a really important weekend for us and how things were going to shape out. I mean, we knew we were basically going to see them in the first round, and the deciding factor was just going to be who was going to host 3 games and, you know, who wasn't going to have the home ice advantage. So credit to our guys to going out and getting 2 big wins. It wasn't easy. It was obviously a challenge, and we did a lot of good things at times. And you know, there were some dog fights, and we were able to come out on top in both of them. So, you know, if we're fortunate enough to lock up that home ice at least for the first round, you know, it's great. It's one of our small goals each year is to get at least home ice advantage in the first round, you know, en route to winning the division, which we were unable to do. You know, Aston won the division this year, and you know, we know that we've had battles with them all year long. We've talked about the 1-goal games and different things like that, and you know, it's tough because if those 1-goal swings would have been the other way, you know, maybe it was us winning the division, but you know, you can't do anything about it now. All you can do is, you know, prep for the final 5 regular season games and get ready for the playoffs because you know, they say it in all sports. Once the playoffs start, it's a new season. And, you know, there's no secrets like we've talked about with the 4 teams that are going to be in the playoffs. And, you know, we know it's going to be New Jersey. We know we've had a war with them all year, and we're expecting nothing different come the playoffs.
So I don't want you to let anything, you know, the cat out of the bag, any secrets, because, you know, this is a very popular show that we do, and we don't want any New Jersey fans listening in. But with 5 games to go, you just took care of New Jersey for 2 games. When you look at the next 5 games, kind of your mentality right now, is it just tweaking things to get these guys in top efficiency for New Jersey? Are you going to do things particularly in the next 5 games that are going to prepare you for the playoffs, or are you just going to go out and play?
I'd say it's a combination of all things. Obviously, you got to be smart with how you do everything. You want to make sure you maximize endurance. Obviously, you want to be healthy. You know, I talked earlier about some of the sicknesses and then a few of the bumps and bruises we had, so we got to make sure we take care of those. So we're firing on all cylinders, you know, come playoff time. Obviously, once we get Phillips back into the fold, getting back over from Latvia, it'll add another dimension to our lineup, which we're excited about. You know, but it's one of those things where I'm a big believer that you got to make sure you're doing the right things no matter what's going on. You can't get complacent. You can't have that satisfaction that, okay, you know, we've got a certain spot in the playoffs, and this is where it's going to be. And I'm not really a big believer in getting complacent, because I think when you do, obviously, bad things can happen. So, looking ahead to the weekend, it's 3 big games for us, and we spoke about at the end of practice today that, it's an opportunity for us to continue to play the right way, to continue to build as we head into the playoffs. Taking nothing for granted going into this weekend. We want to be at our best. We want to play at an elite level. It's one of those things where you have to continue to do things the way you're supposed to do, because you don't want to fall off at any moment. So it's going to be a big weekend for us. Going on the road and playing 3 games is a challenge for anyone, no matter who you're playing, where you're playing. But at the end of the year like this, with Northeast not being in the playoffs, they don't have a whole lot to play for other than, just playing for, or spoiler, or whatever you want to call it. So we got to make sure we're ready to go come Thursday night in Boston.
Yeah, they haven't had the best of years, but like you said, they're going to be a proud organization. They're not just going to show up and say, okay, kick us in the rear. You're going to have to go out and play. When does Phillips get back, by the way? I know that's going to be a huge boost. When is he rejoining the team?
He should be back early next week, back into the U.S. I think it's the 4th or something like that. So he'll be back in town, and then, obviously kind of see how things go, see how his ability is and his endurance is at that point as we head into those 2 final regular season games into the playoffs. So, he's been grinding over there. He's been at a high-tempo, professional-style camp with older professional players that are going through some grueling things. So I email with him, pretty much every few days, just to kind of get an update, see how things are going, stay in touch with them. And obviously he's enjoying what he's doing over there. And he said, he's learning a lot, but he's really missing Johnstown and looking forward to get back, for the playoff run, and looking forward to a long run in the playoffs as well.
So I have to ask, Coach, the last 2 games against Aston, I think I already know the answer. I think that to you're probably looking at that as a great tune-up series before the playoffs start against New Jersey, because you're playing against a high-quality opponent, even though when it comes to standings that last weekend, you nor Aston have anything really to play for that last series other than fine-tuning against another good team before you go in and play for all the marbles.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, though, obviously within our division, it looks like things are, for the most part, looking to be a certain way. Obviously, it has to be done, and we have to take care of our own business and things like that. We know Aston's 1, we know Wilkes-Barre's 4, and New Jersey and us will see each other in the first round, and we got to make sure that we lock up that second spot here. Hopefully doing it this weekend. But, the one thing that you still want to play for, and you still want to finish strong, because after the divisional playoffs are over, and the 4 teams that are remaining head to Minnesota for the Robertson Cup, they get reseeded 1 through 4 based upon your finish in the regular season. So, even though it's not technically home ice, so to speak, you still can be nominated as the home team, and the seedings get adjusted accordingly. So, we want to make sure that even though we may not be able to catch Aston, that we finish with as many points as possible, because, when you come out of the division, you want to have a higher seeding, and you want to have the hopes to maybe be the home team in those playoff games or those series, because you get a couple little details that, you get a benefit as a home team, whether it's last change or things like that. So while you may not have your home crowd there, there's still a slight advantage, being the home team. So there is still some things to play for with the layout of the way the playoffs work in our league. Like I said, obviously it might not affect our divisional situation, but coming out of the division, heading to the Robertson Cup, we want to make sure that we have as many points as possible.
That's right, Coach. And I think for the guys, too, we mentioned playing against Aston this year. Every game, 1-goal game. And so, for me, looking at it from the fan perspective, being able to play them right before New Jersey, it's going to be a good game. And to me, I think for you guys, it'll be a little boost for you to be able to carry some of that momentum over into New Jersey. Because like I've said, and I'm going to stick to it, I think you guys are making this run, because the way you guys play and everything we talk about, I believe that you guys can get it done. Like you're talking about, Aston's in first place, and if you're just a fan looking at the standings and you're going, man, well, Aston takes care of Johnstown all the time, but that's not the case. those games we've talked about it. One goal here, one mistake less here. You get that extra goal. The table could be flipped. You could be on top of Aston because those games are all one-goal games. So, as we move forward, Coach, hockey playoff right around the corner. We're going to wait for one of your assistants to join us here shortly. But, baseball is also starting. Opening day next week. And you mentioned to me you're a huge baseball fan. Being from Chicago, how excited are you for the 2017 baseball season?
Probably, more excited than I've ever been. And it's kind of funny that the season feels like how quickly it's starting because, in the past, the Cubs have never obviously played that long. So, it feels like it's a short off season. I was getting used to it with the Blackhawks having those short off seasons where they play in the middle of June and then training camp starts before you know it. But for the Cubs, it's been unbelievable. Obviously, they're riding a high wave. I mean, it's got to be a ton of fun to be in Arizona during their spring training right now. Obviously, it's a totally different atmosphere and, being the world champions. But, it also paints a bigger target on their back, and, they're going to have a tough time. Obviously, they returned pretty much their entire team, and I think without exception of Dexter Fowler and a couple other guys. But they'll be primed, I think, to hopefully win the division again and maybe make another World Series run. But it's going to be tougher. It's hard to repeat in any sport. So, but I'm pretty excited. Obviously, our season takes trump over everything. But it's nice to be able to put on some meaningful baseball games. I've been a huge baseball fan my whole life. I mean, the two sports I played the majority of my life were hockey and baseball, and I've been a Cubs fan my whole life. And, so I look forward to baseball. I'm probably one of those few people that can put a baseball game on from start to finish and actually on TV and actually find it enjoyable. A lot of people say they hate to watch it on TV, but I actually love watching a baseball game from start to finish. It's something I've been able to do my whole life. I don't know if it's just a little slower pace than hockey, and I can just kind of relax and not be so crazy. But at the same time, I really enjoy it, and when the Cubs are doing well, it makes it much more enjoyable also. So I'm looking forward to baseball starting for sure.
Yeah, well, Coach, this is where you can rip me because, of course, being from Wisconsin, I got to deal with the Brewer rebuild right now, and it's painful. It really is, and I host a number of other shows, and I talk about my
do you mean the place that they call Cubs North, where they get more Cubs fans than Brewers fans usually?
Yeah, well, I've talked about that before, and it makes me mad that those fans let the Cubbies intrude Miller Park like that. But hey, the Cubs have won through. They had a great run, and there's you look at it, it is hard to repeat, but they are returning basically the same team. They've had a couple losses, but they've also made some additions. They are going to be the favorite, but you still got to go out and play. You can't just show up in the World Series. But when you look at it, to be honest, Coach, in that division, if they go out and play to the ability that they should, there's no reason they're not going to repeat as division champs. I don't think the Cardinals have done.
Yeah, I would think they definitely got a good shot.
Yeah, the Cardinals haven't done enough to catch the Cubs. The Pirates have not done enough to catch the Cubs. They haven't added to their pitching staff. Then you got the Brewers and the Reds, both franchises in rebuild mode. And so, I look at it from that standpoint, barring, I guess to me, and I'll get your perspective, for winning the division, outside of, if they stay relatively healthy in a 162-game season, very hard for everybody to stay healthy 162 games, but barring any major setback, like season-ending injuries, I think the Cubs, and I'm not going to say cruise to the division championship, but should win that division, hopefully, if they stay healthy. Wouldn't you agree there?
Sorry, are you there?
Did I lose you, Coach?
Oh, yeah, I got you back, yeah. I lost you for a second there. I mean, going back, like I said, if they can stay healthy and, hopefully the amount of time hasn't added up on them, obviously their pitching staff has put a ton of innings in over the course of the last couple of years and into the playoffs. So that's going to be a big concern for them. But, those guys are horses, and you hope that the depth of the pitching staff and obviously the depth of the offense and, if Kyle Schwarber can play a full year, I mean, he's a big bat they missed for basically the entire season last year, and they got him back for the World Series, and he was awesome. So Like I said, it's one of those things where you hope we don't have any, World Series hangovers or anything like that. But they're young kids. They're hungry. They have a lot of fun when they come to the ballpark every day. And, I think Madden, their manager, instills that in them. He makes it enjoyable to come to the park. And like you said, you have a long, hot summer and 162 games. And at times it gets grinding. But if you're having fun and you enjoy the people you're around, it makes every day a lot easier. And at the end of the day, you're a Major League Baseball player, and there could be a lot worse things you could be doing.
Definitely. Well, I'll tell you what, Coach, that team is actually just scary to me right now with you mentioned it, the youth. I mean, they're not out there sporting, 34-year-olds around. This is a team that could be near the top and at peak performance here for the next couple of years. And I'm not saying they're going to win like 5 in a row or anything like that, but this is a team, a core of that team is going to be around for quite a while, and that is scary if you're in that National League Central. Did you get up to PNC Park when the Cubs come to town and catch a game?
Yeah. Usually if our schedule allows, I typically try to get out there for sure. It's always fun. And PNC is a beautiful ballpark. So, beyond even for the Cubs to be there, it's a lot of fun going to the games there. And I actually enjoy the Pirates too if they're not playing the Cubs. They're a good club. Obviously, last year they took a little bit of a step back, but I expect them to rebound a little bit, and be competitive again. It's, like I said, but I try to get there, when I can. It's not always easy, basically around our schedule. But I think the Cubs are here in April, June, and September if I want to look at the schedule right. So it actually might be kind of tough this year to get out there, but hopefully I can catch a game.
Well, I think you brought up something pretty unique there, Coach. PNC Park, you get the allure of Wrigley Field, which is awesome. And I tell people you got to get to Wrigley Field. If you're a baseball fan, never been to Wrigley Field, you got to get to Wrigley Field. But I also tell people you got to get to PNC Park. You look at basically the tale of two sides of the coin here. You've got the history in Wrigley, but you got PNC Park, which I think is one of the nicer ballparks right now when it comes to a baseball venue in Major League Baseball. But, Coach, I'm sure you spent many games at Wrigley Field, or maybe not, but I'm going to assume you have. I've been to Wrigley Field a few times, and I tell people, it's a place you got to go visit. It's one of those historic places. If your team plays there, and you ever want an out-of-town trip, if you're listening to this from Pennsylvania, if the Pirates play there, find a weekend and go down and watch a game at Wrigley Field. It's an amazing venue, and I'll let you share your experiences about Wrigley Field. I just think it's a great place to watch baseball.
Yeah, it's an awesome ballpark. It's unique because it's right smack dab in the middle of a neighborhood. There's houses and apartment buildings right across the street. There's no parking lots around it. You park in people's garages, you park on the street, you park at Taco Bell's parking lot, you take the bus, the train, whatever you got to do to get there. It's really unique. And then once you get inside the ballpark, you got the ivy in the outfield and the old scoreboard and the bleachers, and they've made some improvements recently. They've upgraded to be a little bit more modernized with a big scoreboard and some different things. And the Cubs clubhouse got remodeled, and it's state of the art now. And but it still has a historical feel to it. It's kind of like the War Memorial in a way where, you have that historical history of the building, but with all the upgrades we've had, it kind of has a nice combination, almost a hybrid type stadium. But, Wrigley's unbelievable. I've been to a ton of games there. As a young kid, into my teens, into my 20s, it was a lot of fun to go there. And it's funny you say it because it's actually, like the first time I went to PNC Park, the stadium was almost like fake because it was so modernized and so high tech compared to what Wrigley was. I was like, this place doesn't even seem real because of the difference. But you got the tale of two coins, like you said. Wrigley's really special. It's probably like Fenway Park in Boston and things like that. So, but I went to a lot of good games there. Had a lot of fun, going to Cubs games and the Wrigleyville area and everything. It's beautiful, especially in the summer. You're right near the lake, and especially with the Cubs being good now, it's a lot of fun.
Yeah, I can imagine. I went to school at the University of Wisconsin-Whitewater, which is just a stone's throw to Chicago. So I went to school with a lot of people from Chicago, Coach, and that was many years ago. But a lot of my friends at Whitewater were Cub fans, and when they won, my email and my phone blew up, literally blew up. So I'm happy for Cub fans, I really am. And now they've got to rip me about how bad the Brewers are. But when you look at Major League Baseball altogether, Coach, when you switch over to the American League, I don't know how much you follow the whole league, but who do you think out of the American League could possibly? I'm almost penciling the Cubs in the World Series again, should they stay healthy. But who do you think in the American League could be a team that gives them a little bit of trouble should they face them in the World Series?
I don't know. It's like last year I was kind of, following the Toronto Blue Jays train a little bit. I got some buddies that live in Canada I used to play with that, obviously are big Jays fans, and kind of hoping for that, hoping maybe a Cubs Blue Jays World Series. Obviously didn't work out. I mean, Cleveland's another team that was pretty good. I think they have a lot of their roster back, and they should probably make some noise. I mean, Houston Astros are a pretty good team. Red Sox are always good. So I don't know. I do follow the AL. Obviously know the NL a little bit more, but I think it's probably a little bit more wide open in the AL. There's some good teams there. Is where the NL, I would say, like you talked about the division earlier. I mean, the Central Division has a couple bottom feeders that got teams that are in rebuild that'll probably be good in a few years. But and then you always have the Giants, the Dodgers, and kind of the same teams that are there in the playoffs. But the AL, you never know. It could be wild, especially the DH. It throws in a couple of different wrinkles in the mix.
So I have to ask this, Coach.
As long as the White Sox are in the bottom of the AL Central, though, it's always good.
Well, and it's funny, you always kind of prelude into where I'm going with this. So you're from Chicago, so I want fans to know that there is a pure hatred between Cubs and White Sox fans. Like it's a pure hatred. It's not like, oh yeah, you're white. It's like pure hatred. Tell me how that came about, because I don't think a lot of people realize. Oh, there's two teams in Chicago, the White Sox and the Cubs. They're all from Chicago. They don't get along, though. There's a pure hatred there.
It is a legitimate hatred. I mean, you'd be hard pressed to find anybody who's a fan of both teams. I think there's a lot of jealousy to it. Obviously the Cubs have that national recognition, a lot more fanfare, things like that. A lot of it does come. Obviously Chicago is a huge city, so sometimes it's geographical, and if the north part of the city or the suburbs are usually Cubs fans, and the south side are usually White Sox fans, but it's not always the case. But it's a legitimate hatred. I mean, I know the Penguins and Flyers have a big hatred, but I would say this is even deeper than that. And in 2005 when the White Sox won the World Series, that was the greatest thing in the world, and really to their fans, more importantly than actually just winning the World Series was winning it, and the Cubs didn't win it, and that's all they celebrated. And I know I went to a lot of games, and it'd be funny to see how many White Sox fans would just wear T-shirts that say Cubs suck, and they didn't actually have White Sox T-shirts on. So I always felt that they were Cubs haters more than they were White Sox fans, which I really didn't care for. But now that the Cubs won the World Series, there is legitimately nothing that a White Sox fan could actually ever say to a Cubs fan. Now they always used to say, I got my ring in 05 and whatever.
now they've got to retreat back. Now they have to find some new material.
Yeah, because that's all they could ever say. And they had some validity to it, but now it's nice to just kind of laugh and say quit living in the past. But there's a deep hatred, that's for sure. I mean it's legit.
Yeah, and again, I'm from the Midwest, so I know about that hatred. I'm not sure if people out here in Western PA really know that there is that. I mean, it's bad. And so I tell any of the Pennsylvania people listening in, if you're a Penguin fan and you hate the Flyers, state that times 10. And that's probably a White Sox-Cubs rivalry between fans there.
Yeah, for sure.
And I heard the beep, so that means that your assistant coach, Nick Shackford, has joined us. Nick, how are you doing today?
Good. Thanks for having me on.
We appreciate having you on. So Coach and I were chatting a little baseball. I mean, we've been doing this show, Coach, now about 3 months, maybe a little bit longer, somewhere around there. So we're winding down the season. I guess, Nick, my question to you as a coach, I talk to the players all the time about, how playing in Johnstown is special. For you as a coach, what does it mean to be a coach for the Johnstown Tomahawks in that community?
Well, obviously, it's very special to be here. You have so much history, hockey history here, and it's also an unbelievable organization. Both front office and hockey staff are great, and ownership has been great to me here. So it's really fun. I mean, it's fun, playing or coaching in front of 2,000-3,000 fans a game. When everybody's watching you, decisions you make, it's fun. I've been around the league for numerous teams, and this is definitely the best place I've been. So
I was talking to Coach right now, Nick, and we're winding up for the playoffs. Basically, it's just a matter of solidifying that number 2 seed, one point out. When you look at your role, with these players, the next 2 weeks getting ready for the playoffs. I know, I talked a little bit to Coach, but as an assistant coach, your role here the next 2 weeks, what's going to be your biggest message when you're out there coaching?
Well, a lot of it is making sure the players are ready to go and preparation. And, a lot of it is assisting Coach Letizia on numerous things, whether that be opposition, scouting, video, that kind of stuff. But as an assistant coach, you have a little bit more hands-on with the players. So you want to make sure come playoff time that, their minds are clear, they're focused, they're ready to go, their health is good. So it's really, having meetings with them, making sure that, because you want your guys to have, their confidence at their top of their game, and all that kind of stuff. So there's a lot of factors that go into it, and a lot of parts that you have to, really pretty much go in every day to the locker room and read the room, read the mood of the room, and kind of see, what guys maybe, confidence might be down and who you need to pull aside to, pick them back up, or who needs to adjust certain things in their game, for the best interest of the team and all that kind of stuff.
So I have Coach on the line. So Coach, I'm gonna put Nick on the spot. Not really. I'm not gonna have you incriminate yourself. But I've had a joy, Nick, talking to Coach on this show. And I think a lot of times he probably doesn't get enough credit for what he's done at Johnstown. He's done remarkable things. As an assistant coach on his staff, I want you to let the listeners know, what makes Coach Letizia, one of those coaches that you want to play for, and that makes him a really good coach. So, Coach, I may embarrass you a little bit, so I apologize. But, Nick, I think a lot of times, I just talk to Coach every week. He's done a heck of a job in Johnstown and done wonders to stabilize an organization that means a lot to the community. But what makes him such a great coach?
I've been in this league this is my 7th year. Next year will be my 8th. And I can honestly say, Coach Letizia is a very, very good coach. And what makes him a good coach? Well, the first thing is he's extremely intelligent. He's very understanding and very open-minded. And that's kind of what makes the players respect him. Myself, is that he's open to ideas. He's always trying to get better. He's always trying to, become a better coach. And, it's the little parts of what he does that really add up. And a lot of it is, how he treats the players, how he treats his staff, how, for example, we've gotten to a point, we've worked together for 2 years, and as an assistant coach, he doesn't throw things at me. You know, we kind of have like, he expects certain things from me to do, and you know, and he holds myself accountable as well as the players. And there's a certain level of respect that you know that he has from both the players and staff, because of, you know, a lot of it is his personality, a lot of it is his intelligence, and a lot of it is how is he, you know, the culture that he's implemented here. And that's really the biggest thing, you know. He's, you know, like I said, I've been in the league a long time, and he's changed the entire organization for the better. I mean, he's made this organization now I would say a powerhouse organization in this league. And a lot of that, as a coach, is changing the culture. And, you know, this is his third year as a head coach, and and it takes a while. You can't just change the culture overnight. As John Tortorella says, you know, in one interview he did, it takes 4 years for a coach to change the culture. Well, Mike's done that a little bit quicker. And I can honestly say the culture here in Johnstown, in our what we call our clubhouse, is unbelievable. It's great to come to work every day as a member of his staff, and the players, you know, and have, you know, a lot of fun at practice. They enjoy coming to the rink, and that's, you know, and I talk to these kids sometimes a little bit more open with the assistant coach more than the head coach, which is very normal. So, you know, the culture that he's established here is pretty good. Is very good, actually. So, hope that sums up. I hope I can keep my job.
So, did he do okay, Coach? Is he going to be on the bench this weekend or what?
Yeah, no, he's obviously that was you know, nice to hear from Nick, but it like you say, it's a team effort here, you know, and that's, I think, the biggest thing that we like to do is that, you know, we always try to say that no player is bigger than a team. I think that's what we try to do as an organization, is there's nobody bigger than the next guy, and you know, we just try to work together, and we're never perfect. Nobody ever is, but I think we have a good chemistry together that, you know, there's things that I'm not good at that Nick is good at, you know, and I'm sure vice versa, that we really mesh well as a staff. And, you know, we try to stay open-minded to everything, you know, and sometimes things have to be a certain way, so it's tough, but at the same time, being able to work together, and like Nick said, is create a culture that the players want to be a part of. They have fun coming to the rink every day. They'll run through a wall for each other, and that's what you want. And it's something that starts at the scouting level that Nick has done a phenomenal job with. He really has a love for the scouting aspect of you know, the organization, and he's done a great job in bringing in players and character, you know, too, and that goes a long way as well. So, you know, like I said, we all add a piece to the puzzle. It's not, and one piece isn't bigger than the other, and that's the mentality we try to have for our players and as our staff. And I think, you know, we're heading in the right direction. We're not where we want to be yet. You know, once we bring a championship to this town, I think we'll finally say that, you know, we did something great. You know, but we're hopefully heading in the right direction.
See, Coach, you know, we've been doing this so long, you take my questions now. Like, I was going to ask you, what does Nick mean to the team? And so now you're already taking my questions. So I'll move on. Nick, you know, I was a soccer coach, and I coached for 14 years, and I went through the ranks, assistant to head coach. You've been in the league for a while. I always ask the players, you know, what's next hockey-wise? Do you have a goal to be a head coach in the NAHL or different league? I mean, what is your plan as far as the coaching tree goes?
Well, you know, I would not be opposed. I mean, if something came up in the North American League for a head coach, yeah, I would be interested. However, it's not my ultimate goal. My ultimate goal is really through the scouting departments. So, like, the dream job would be, to work for an NHL team in their scouting department. That's where I think my best talent is in this profession. Now, if something came along as an offer as a head coach, would I turn it down? Well, it would depend on the organization. There's a lot of factors that go into it. But the whole scouting, fraternity is a big part of the game. And as you go up the levels, it becomes more of a necessity, and it's very valued. And so that I guess is my ultimate goal would be to be ultimately in the National Hockey League as an amateur scout or professional scout. But it's a process, and in the game of hockey and the business of hockey, it's not easy to find work, and it's a process, and it takes time, and you got to be patient, and you got to pay your dues, and you got to work hard, and you got to do well, and then maybe catch some breaks, and hopefully you can get there. So that's my answer to that.
Wonderful. So one day I'll be able to say, I had him on Hawkey Central one day. I remember that guy, and then I'll be knocking down the door. Hey, give me tickets. I need some tickets. But Coach, I purposely waited, Coach. You and I talked before the show that the season's winding down, and so with such a successful season, a lot of things going on individually and team-wise, Coach. So I got both the coaches on the show. So I want to talk about some of these players that are doing some wonderful things and some of these great milestones that the team itself has accomplished. So, Coach, I'll turn it over to you. That's how we're going to end our segment with all the great things here at the end of the season, individual records, team records, and Nick, feel free to jump in and add things that to what Coach is saying.
This weekend was a good weekend for some individuals. First and foremost, Drew Hott set a franchise record for most wins in a season by a goalie. I think Alex Hawkey was the goalie who had that previously. So Drew now holds that record, which is outstanding. He's been a rock for us all year, as we've talked about throughout the season. And then Donovan Ott broke Luke Lynch's record that was set last year for most goals in the season. Donovan has 30th of the year.
And that's a lot of goals in the North American Hockey League. I can tell you right now, it's not easy to score 30 goals in the North American Hockey League. So that's quite a milestone. And
Donovan's played 52 games this year, so he's had 30 goals in 52 games. So, that's over a goal every other game, how you want to look at it, over half a goal a game. That's pretty impressive. And, he's got some games to go here to hopefully add that total. And then Nick Bruce, passed and set a new franchise high for points in the season, passing Luke Lynch as well, who set it last year. And Nick has 5 more games to pass that or build to that. And Donovan and Dalton Hunter also could potentially pass the total points that Luke set last year. So we could potentially have 3 guys pass the franchise high in points, and hopefully they do. Obviously, quality individual success and guys doing their jobs adds to the team success. So, big time props to those 3 men for what they did, and obviously a lot of other guys that contributed as well and to our team success this year. We were fortunate. Last season we set a new franchise high for wins and points, with 31, and I think it was 67, and right now, heading the last 5 games of the year, we have 37 wins and I believe it's 78 points. So, we passed by those numbers from last year. Credit to these kids for doing so, and hopefully we can build to that as well. With the 5 games remaining, like I said, we want to get as many wins, as many points as we can. So, after winning the divisions, the playoffs, you get reseeded and things like that. So we want to do the best we can and then finish these 5 games strong and hopefully add to the totals that these young men have worked hard for this year and set. So this team has done a nice job to this point, and hopefully great things are still to come.
Coach, I sound like a broken record when I say it's coming. It's coming. I'm on the bandwagon, and you look at all this offensive firepower that's going on, and that could be amazing to have 3 guys all break the single-season point record. That would be amazing. But like you've always said, Coach, it's not over. I mean, the big journey is going to start here in a couple of weeks when you get to the playoffs. So, Nick, when you look forward, having you on the show as a coach, how excited are you as a coach to be able to start that playoff run? And, you know, I have to ask, Coach, we asked last week, Nick, are you going with the playoff spirit as a coach, or what's going to go on there? So, two-part question.
Man,
you're excited.
I think Nick should go with a big mustache for playoffs. Like big old man mustache. Great.
I am still undecided with what type of facial hair I will be going with for playoffs. I've tried various things, various years, and I don't know what I'm going to go with this year. The big one is maybe the goatee. I don't know. Supposedly I look good in that. I don't know. So, but
does it really matter how good you look? Is there really a playoff beard that really looks good? I mean, I just throw it out there because I was telling Coach I did something similar in soccer, and it's not about how you look, Nick. It's just you got to go with it. Just go with it.
Yeah, you know, it's when playoffs comes down to it, you got to sacrifice for the team. So maybe if you don't look good, but it's going to help out the cause of the team, you got to do it. And I agree with that 100%. Yeah.
So, you know,
so maybe it is a mustache. Maybe it is a mustache.
Well, we'll find out soon enough, and hopefully that thing grows big and bushy because you're playing all the way to the final. But again, you know,
Absolutely.
Nick, back to, you know, like a serious nature of the excited time of playoff hockey. I know players, you know, being a player, and you get excited for the playoffs. But tell the listeners as a coach, your excitement level, knowing that, hey, I'm in playoff hockey right now, I'm coaching. How does your emotional level go? Does it step up to the next level? What do you do as a coach knowing it's playoff time?
Well, it does. And I can tell you this, we've already started preparing for playoffs, Coach and I. And the excitement keeps getting bigger and bigger each week. And, you know, at the emotional level, you know, I would say it's a whole new season, and it's a whole new step up of, you know, pressure and excitement, which is all good things. It's what we live for, and you know, the season is very long. You know, we start at the end of August. You know, we go all through the year, play 60 games, 8 exhibition games, and you know, go through the middle part of the year, the dog days of the season, you know, in January and February, and you know, then you get to March, and you know, it's the excitement starts to grow, you know, with playoffs coming and your last playoff push, and then April hits, and it's go time, and you know, every single thing matters, and as a coach, you have to really be a good role model for the players. And by that I mean you have to make sure that you're emotionally in check with not only yourself, but the way you are around the players. Because if you're a nervous wreck, you know, it's not going to look too good for the players, right? You want to make sure, because you have to understand these kids, there's a lot of pressure on these kids, especially as it is, and when playoffs hits, there's even more pressure. And so sometimes you got to keep them grounded and manage the emotions. It's part of being a coach, and it's definitely an exciting part of the year. Definitely don't sleep as much, but you know, you wake up every morning, and it's you know, it's exciting. You know, it's, you know, games are on the line, everything's on the line. So.
Yeah, and I want to say this in the best of ways, and not that Johnstown is, you know, well, I'll say this, they are better than a lot of other places, but the pressure and the way that the team is part of this community, I think there is some pressure, and I know the community supports these guys, but I would imagine that even as coaches, and, you know, Coach, you can join in here too, it's almost, I don't want to say you feel an obligation to bring back a championship for them, but this community is so entrenched in this organization that there's got to be that pressure that, hey, we need to kind of win one for the community. Or am I way off base here?
No, obviously a fan base like ours, I mean, they crave a championship like anybody, and they support us well, and I think the town would obviously be extremely excited and extremely grateful if these young men were able to bring a championship to the town. And at the same time, our kids put in a lot of work. They make a huge sacrifice for the most of them, all of them, to leave home and come here to play, and they become part of the community. But they also deserve to win it for themselves, because as great as our fans are and as supportive as they are, and how big they are, part of helping us out, the kids deserve the success if they put the time in to do it. And so it's kind of a little bit of everything. At the same time, like I said, we'd love to bring a championship to Johnstown and the community, and hopefully our kids are ready to make the run to do it.
They are, Coach. I know they are. That's coming from my mouth. So my last question before we end our segment on the show today: do you guys ever play good coach, bad coach? I know when I coached, that my assistant coaches, we'd always, we'd had to have those times where somebody had to be the bad coach and somebody had to be the good coach. Do you guys pull the good coach, bad coach routine?
We don't like to give away our secret.
You don't have to.
No.
That's fair.
We like to. I mean, for the most part, I would say I don't really know, Mike. Do we? I mean, we kind of argue
I would say that I think the biggest thing is, and Nick kind of said about earlier, is trying to gauge that pulse. You know what I mean? To understand, and it probably depends on the situation of, where things are at, and you have to have that personality on both sides of the spectrum, and sometimes both of us have to be the positive situation, or maybe both of us have to express our frustrations depending on what the situation is, or maybe it's time for one of us to go one way and one to go the other way. But at the same time, I think our players understand, and I think that, like Nick talked about, at least we hope they do, that the way we want to do things here and then the environment we want to have, I think our guys understand that if the coaching staff is upset about something, it's probably warranted. You know what I mean? Because we don't just get upset and blow up for no reason. It's probably a good reason for us to be upset with. However, whether we're playing poorly, or our habits are bad, or our work ethic's bad, or we're not doing the right things off the ice, or whatever the case may be. I would like to think that these guys know it, and I think that's, hopefully they respect it and they understand that we don't hate them. We're just mad at them because we expect the best out of them. I guess just similar to parents. You know what I mean? You understand that your parents love you. They want the best for you, but they got to make sure that they try to do what they can to bring the best out of you. And sometimes they're not always going to be happy with what you do, and they might express it a certain way. But at the end of the day, I would say the majority of parents just want the best for their kids, and hopefully that's kind of a similar feeling that our guys get, from what we do.
And to add to that, I would say, Coach brought up, having the pulse of the team, and that's something that I feel that we do a very good job of having. You have to, if you have to be here every day to have that pulse. And there's so many little things that go into it. You have to understand these kids are, between 16 and 20, and there's a lot of things that they have to deal with. They're growing up, they're young adults, and I think the biggest thing that what I really like, working here is, I'm able to be myself, and I think that's something that, as a coach, if you're kind of coaching in a way that you're not yourself, I think there's a problem there. And I think, here in Johnstown, Coach and I, we coach towards our personalities, and Coach and I happen to have a very good chemistry together. And I think that's something that's very, it works very well with our team. And so I think that could be hopefully that gives some insight to your question. So
certainly. Well, I'll tell you what, guys.
Go ahead, Coach. We're big on substance over surface. I mean, that's the way I look at it. And you know what I mean? Like I am who I am, and Nick is who he is, and I'm not gonna be a guy that's in a suit every day coming to practice, or vice versa. We are who we are. We're not gonna put on a dog and pony show, and we just say that, hey, this is who we are, and that's how we have our players. They're all unique in their own way. They all come from different backgrounds, and we want them to be comfortable in their own skin, and we feel that the substance behind the surface is the most important thing, and that's what we try to do the best we can. I think Nick hit the nail on the head there.
Yeah, well, I'll tell you what, guys, you got this team rocking and rolling in a position now to get ready for the playoffs. I'm excited, Coach, doing the show with you. I'm excited about playoff hockey. I know you got some business for 5 games, but we'll get together next week. Nick, I appreciate you coming on the show and sharing your insights.
Well, thanks for having me.
Yeah, thanks. That was a great show.
Always my pleasure to welcome to the show Communications Manager Mike Gosnell. Mike, how are you doing today, buddy?
Good. The weather's been turning here. It looks like spring's finally on its way, and we're always good after a 2-game sweep. So looking forward to the games against Northeast this weekend, leading into the playoffs.
Yeah, of course. Talked to Coach and brought on assistant coach Nick Shackford, and you can't guarantee that they've got the home ice. You've got to actually clinch it officially. But to be honest, Mike, 3 games against Northeast to be able to get 1 point and officially clinch, I would imagine that's going to happen sooner than later. But we can't assume until it actually officially happens. But I would imagine you're pretty excited about being able to get ready to host the first-round playoff series.
Yes, and this will be our first time in team history that will be, if all goes according to plan, this will be the first time that we've actually hosted home ice in the playoffs in the 5 years that we've been around. So, yeah, we're very excited. I mean, we're guaranteed at least 2 home games. I know the fans are very excited about that. So, but the team has to, take care of business. And, Northeast had a tough year this year, and they're not an easy team to play against. These are the type of games that you always, are second-guessing yourself at. So, but we're confident that the team can get the job done.
Yeah, you hit it on the head, and we brought that up when I was talking to Coach. Still got to go out and play. Still got to win. Northeast isn't going to just put the white flag up and say, yeah, you can come in and kick our rear. They're going to play, and so they've got to get that 1 point to clinch it. But, they've got 5 shots at it, Mike, so, I'm going to be very optimistic that point's going to come sooner than later. I know that playoff hockey's right around the corner. 5 games left. What's going on in the world of communications with Johnstown?
Oh, well, the season's winding down. We're really shifting our focus towards the playoffs. We do have 2 home games remaining here in the regular season. Your last 2 opportunities to see some regular season hockey at the War Memorial, both against our bitter rivals, the Aston Rebels. April 7th is our Pucks and Paws event. For $5, you can bring your 4-legged friendly friend, cats or dogs. We haven't had a lot of cats, but we have had a lot of dogs. I know last year we had over 250 dogs in attendance last year.
Wow.
And Pucks and Paws is always a popular promotion around here. So for a $5 donation to the Humane Society of Cambria County, you can bring your dog to the event. And there's also going to be a dog food donation which will benefit the Cambria County Humane Society. And then the following night is our Fan Appreciation Night. That one is presented by UPMC. Going to be a lot of giveaways, gift cards, etc. And of course, so one of the many dates that our fans circle on the calendar, because it's always a big game and plenty to play for. You want to get that last little shot in at Aston before we each go to the playoffs and go to the first round.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it's an exciting time, Mike. I know today's show we had assistant coach Nick Shackford on, and I'm going to tell you what, he just basically solidified what I've known all year, is that this organization does it right on and off the ice. I wanted to get, though, from somebody that works in the administrative side, what does Coach Nick bring to the table to help Coach Mike out with during the season and even outside of the season? Very valuable piece to the organization.
Nick's a character. I like Nick. Nick is a very animated guy. But the best example I can give you of how hard this Nick Shackford works is, during the summer, I had the opportunity to witness how detailed he is in terms of scouting for future players for our organization. He spends countless hours looking at film, call on the phone, via email, just trying to get the best possible prospects to come to Johnstown. And his hard work really has shown this year. Look where we're at. He helped recruit a lot of these guys to come to Johnstown, and he brings, he compliments Coach Mike well, and he does a fantastic job. They both do. One without the other, I think, I think Nick coached against us a lot during his time in the NAHL beforehand, came here last season, and has just been an asset ever since. Coach Nick's a great guy, great coach too.
Yeah, I definitely got that today from Nick, and I know both coaches, Mike, are excited about the playoff time. They still got some business. The way that the end of the season is going to roll around, 5 games to go, got 5 games to play. They need points. I know Coach Letizia was very adamant about wanting all the points he can because, you can tell the fans again, once the playoffs and if they would advance and have a chance to move on, you actually get reseeded, and then it's based on points. So Coach Mike was real adamant about getting as many of these 10 points at the end of the year that he could to add to the already record-breaking point total they have.
Right. If we, like Coach Mike said, you want to get all the points that you can, especially if we're fortunate enough to get past round 2 and into the Robertson Cup playoff tournament. Home ice in that tournament is big because you get the last change, and that can really, it's the little things that can make or break a game. It's a game of inches like in football. It's a game of strategy. You want that last change, and that's why Coach Mike would probably want all the points that he can get. And it's always good to be hot when you're going into the playoffs too. And I think the team is really hitting the right chords. They played really well last weekend, and then they have 3 big games coming up against Northeast, which I expect, we'll play 100% like we always do.
Yeah, I'm excited about it. Mike, I'll tell you what, it seems like just yesterday we started doing the show, and now I blinked my eyes, and the playoffs are right around the corner, which is great. And hopefully we're doing this show for a lot more weeks. That would mean that the team keeps advancing. But it's always a pleasure to have you on the show, Mike. We'll get together next week, bud.
Thank you very much. See you.